Hello everyone and welcome to this my video on solving cubic inequalities. Could it get any more exciting than this? Probably, but this is what we've got at the moment. My name is Darren from Maths Guru. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you're going to find this video mind-blowingly simple. Well, that's my aim. Anyway, now behind me you will see the learning objectives, and what we're going to say is to understand how to use the tools in our chest to solve cubic inequalities. Now, what is an inequality? You've seen these before. That's when it isn't a definite solution. And so we're looking at things like, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. These type of things here is where we're now looking for a range of answers. Now, as I say behind me, we've dealt with so much by now of this particular course, and this is the Mathematical Methods Units 1 and 2 course. But basically, polynomials and solving for cubics are worldwide. So don't worry if you're not over here in Australia at this moment in time. But everything we've done is we've been able to now factorize polynomials. We can find crossing points of polynomials. We can probably sketch some polynomials. But in all of this, we've had definite answers, right? We've been solving something like, 6x cubed plus 2x squared plus x minus 4 equals 0. And that equals 0 is very, very specific for methods. And sadly, a lot of the language in methods tricks people, and that's part of the problem here. So I'm going to do a quick recap, but before I get into that, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be massive. Why? It just lets me know that people out there are watching. No one watches maths videos, to be perfectly honest with you, and yet all the feedback I get is like, man, your stuff is amazing. You explain it really, really well. Well, if that was the case, I'd have gone a viral sensation now. Well, I suppose among mathematicians, if nothing else. So clicking that would be great. Now, again, if you want to download the lesson notes, watch this video and all the videos in this series, then you can go to mathsguru.com. Absolutely free to sign up. Now, enough of that sort of promotional stuff. Let's get on. Now, again, this section here really tricks most method students, right? Because they're like, well, how do I find a great... You try and use the standard tools to help you sort of solve this. And that goes to some way. But I want to look at what does f of x, if I say f of x is greater than 0, what does that actually mean? Because lots of people tend to panic. Well, I want you to think about here as that being just y. Yes, we're looking for the parts on the graph where y is greater than 0. Well, hold on a moment. All the points where y is greater than 0, well, this is the point where y is equal to 0. This all below here is where y is basically negative. So this must be all the values for where the y is greater than 0. And I'll sort of switch back to this specific example here. Now, again, another way to think about this is to think of the greater than 0 as actually the word positive. So if I have f of x is greater than 0, and I'm going to change that for y is greater than 0, I am now looking for all values where y is greater than 0. All right, so my y values are greater than 0. Well, again, that is anything that is above that x-axis. So all of the section of the graph here and all of the section of the graph here all have positive y values. Yay! But what creates those positive y values? Well, there would have to be x values that create, because again, any equation, if we had, y equals x squared minus 6, for example, how do I get my y values? Well, my y values are a function of x. Whatever x value I put in here, I square it and take away 6. That gives me a value of y. So the question is, what x values create all these values of y? Well, hopefully you would realize that everything from this point all the way down, sort of down there, would create these y values. And there's a sort of caveat to this in a moment. Likewise, if I look at all these points here, they've been created by basically putting all of these x values from this point and that way all the way to infinity will create sections of this graph, and values from whatever this value is here, let's say that's minus 2, all the way that way will create those sections. So if I was going to answer this, all right, and that's really saying what values of x from minus infinity to positive infinity will create only the sections above the graph, we could write, well, minus infinity to negative 2 All right. Now, the next thing here is lots of people get very confused, and I'm going to say or from the value of 3 to infinity.